You're watching New Car Spin. I'm your host, Brian Grant, and this is the Mitsubishi Outlander Sport SEL. And I've had it for a week. It's been raining non-stop for the week, but this is actually a great car for your sister. First off, we'll start with this panoramic roof, which doesn't open, but has a really cool trick. This button here has panels that come out from behind the back seat and closes to protect you from the sun. And it's not a fabric top, it's a hard cover top. So it's really cool. You'll see it has 3 panels. And when I first got in this car, I was looking at this going, that's interesting, because it also has yellow LED lights that reflect off at night. They also reflect off the glass at night. And so you basically just control the light with this button here, and it changes to the different light brightness settings. But then if you hold this button here, look at how the top opens back there. It just folds up inside. Now, of course, that does take up valuable storage space in the back because it has to lower the roof down to fit those panels. But that's pretty cool because when you sit in here, look at that view. I mean, it doesn't open, it lets in a lot of warm light, but it's still pretty cool. So your sister would definitely love that. Something else your sister would love, and something actually I'm a very big fan of, especially when you compare this to something like the Jeep Renegade, is it has, right there, a 4-wheel drive button. And when you push it, you go into 3 different modes. You have 4-wheel drive lock, you have front-wheel drive, which is okay, and then you have 4-wheel drive auto, which I've been in the entire week because it's been raining. And what I want to tell you about that is, when you put it in 4-wheel drive auto, it stays in that mode when you restart the vehicle, unlike the Jeep Renegade. So this is a great car for your sister because it is stable on the road. It handles quite well. It doesn't ever push itself to the limit with the handling. So you get to a point where you get to your comfort level, but you never get past your comfort level where the traction control has to kick in. So it's one of those vehicles where if your sister's only 16, this is a great vehicle for her to learn in. I have a few issues with this thing personally. First one is these, and I've knocked the Toyota Corolla for this. The heated seat buttons don't self-cancel. They're physical buttons. We do have a traction control off button. Your sister will never use that. We have fully automatic climate control. It works well, except for in cold weather. I noticed that when the heat auto switched between basically floor to the upper vents or both vents or a mixture of that, the heat would get really intense. It would lower the fan speed, it would make its adjustment, it did a lot of work, but at the same time it got really hot in here even when it wasn't set to high heat on the auto temperature control. But basically you set the temperature you want, you can put it in auto, and it handles everything. Your sister will love that because if she gets her nails painted or whatever, she won't have to touch this every time she gets in the car, and she won't ruin her nails. Right here it has lane departure warning. So it will beep if she's not paying attention to the lane she's in. It doesn't really auto steer or auto correct, but it definitely keeps her alert on the road. One thing I also dislike is that when you're at night, we do have auto headlights and we have fog lights, but none of these window switches light up at night. So it's hard to find them at night. Another thing too is if your sister has a baby, there are no dome lights in the back seat. So if she's trying to get a child in the back seat back here, or a dog, there's no lighting. It's only right here. Dome lights are right here only. Now, of course, we do have these ambient lighting systems, these strips through here on the sides, but they're not enough to light up the cabin at night when you get in and out of the vehicle. Also, you'll notice a handbrake. If you are a respectful brother, you will show your sister how to do some handbrake turns when she doesn't know you're borrowing her car. There is also a Rockford Fosgate stereo in here, and it sounds okay. I'll show you why I say that. Well, the only reason why it's okay is because it doesn't sound that great. You can use Bluetooth and connect to it. You can use USB and connect your phone to it. The features are quite limited in this Mitsubishi model, and the Rockford Fosgate sound system isn't as good as Rockford Fosgate sound systems in other manufacturers' vehicles, but it is better than nothing. And at this price point, which is just around $29,000, your sister will have a very nice car that will survive anything she can throw at it. It's got four-wheel drive. It's great in the city with fuel economy. I made a whole week of commuting on one single tank. And it has a CVT transmission with a sport and low mode. And it actually scoots along quite well for a CVT. You can drop it into sport mode and have a lot of fun with this thing. And the reason why you can is not only because of the handling, but because of the comfort level of the suspension. And I'll show you that one second. Let me close the door and put my seatbelt on. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna go ahead and put it in reverse, put the parking brake down. We get a nice backup camera. You can see that it is a very wide view. This is actually the best backup camera I've seen in any vehicle I've ever driven, because it is such a wide view. And I don't have to look for alert systems or look for beeps or anything. It shows me everything in pretty good detail, but mostly it shows very far down the road. You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parked cars way over there. That's how good this camera is. You can see oncoming traffic from miles away when you want to back up. So there's no excuse for your sister if she's backed up into something. And that comes with this trim. But here we go. We're going to put it into drive. And you notice we are in four-wheel drive auto. See this speed bump? The Mitsubishi saw it too. I heard it, but I didn't feel it. Here's another speed bump, 10 miles an hour. Didn't feel it. And as opposed to the Volkswagen Atlas that I drove last week, which I said had a floaty 90s American style insulting ride, this one is so cool because you can just fly over speed bumps. And I know your sister will be in a rush one day and will not even care about speed bumps. And don't even worry about it, because she will not be able to ruin the suspension on this by going 20 over a speed bump like that. That's what makes this vehicle so cool, because she can zip through the college parking lot without a care in the world. She can back out of her space and she can take off to her next appointment or whatever. And basically, you don't have to worry about her doing any harm to this vehicle. Now, if you're her brother, I got good news for you, because this is a Mitsubishi, which means it has four-wheel drive, and it also has a great suspension. If you ever feel like off-roading, or you need to go off-road for some reason, this is the vehicle to do it in. It's very efficient, it's very compact and small. The four-wheel drive has a diff lock, and you even have low gear capability. This is like the ultimate do everything for any first-time driver. If your sister's 16 years old, maybe 22 years old, I would highly recommend the Mitsubishi Outlander Sport SEL trim. You can't go wrong with that. And if you have any questions, please let me know, because I'll be glad to answer them for you. Performance-wise, it gets up and scoots. Now, of course, your sister's never going to speed, right? But if her boyfriend decides to drive it, he's going to be pleasantly surprised. The most important thing here, though, is this car is really not, in my mind, for anyone who's over 6 feet tall. Actually, anyone who's over 5.5 feet tall. Because these seats are really high up in this cabin. And I'm not sure why, because if you look down below the seats, it seems like they've been lifted up for some purpose. And I can only assume they've been lifted up to make this thing feel like it's bigger than it is. And let me just pull into this parking lot real quick. I don't know where I am. Oh, a church parking lot, of course. They won't mind. I think that's what church parking lots are for anyway, for turning around. Anyway, let me show you this. Pardon for the dirtiness of the appearance here, but it's been raining for a week in Texas, and the mud is outrageous. You see how high this seat is? I can't lower it. It does not go down. The driver's seat is power, the passenger seat is manual, but look at this gap. That is a huge gap. Happens to me every time. In the back, it's room enough for 8 of her friends, obviously if they sit on each other's lap. And we do have cup holders in the rear too. No vents in the back though, and look at that view with a panoramic roof. Is just so awesome. I have a trunk full of junk, which your sister might have too. Yep, this is what your sister's car will look like. Actually, there's some spare space here for hairbrushes and rollers and other products. And of course, on this side is the subwoofer from the Rockford Fosgate system. We do have one light back here and no lighting up here, and it's not a powered trunk lid. Your sister can handle that. Look at this too, something really cool and a nice feature, stainless steel pedal caps. You really only see that on really expensive Audis. We also have keyless start stop, keyless entry. The list goes on and on and on and on with features. And I myself personally have had a Mitsubishi Montero before, back in 2000. And I called that thing my Japanese mountain goat. It had like the Swiss Army of transmissions. It had a lot of off-road prowess capability. It made the mark. This thing feels like a very, very condensed version of that. And even though it's $29,000, may sound kind of pricey for some of you, I think not letting your sister get stranded on the side of the road, making sure she has a reliable mode of transportation, not only in the summer, but also in inclement weather, such as rain and snow. I think you're doing your job protecting your sister. So if you have a sister who needs a car, this is what she should have. And you can tell her Brian approved it. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, another cool thing is if your sister loves cows, or she has any kind of like stuffed cow or any sort of cow toy at all, she'll love this thing. It has a bit of personality to it. It sounds like a cow. Ready? Listen. You hear that? That was a moo. Moo! Moo! She'd love it. Listen, again. Oh, that was an angry moo there. I think your sister will love the fact that this thing has a bit of her favorite animal instinct. If this was to channel its inner soul animal, it would be the cow. Tell me I'm wrong. I think I nailed it on this one.